Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? Welcome to the sports page here on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube Live. We come to you here daily. Programming note, Friday, the morning show is moving also to an afternoon show. It's the only way we'll be able to get everybody in. And it will be a Friday drop. We will drop it late afternoon, very early evening. We're going to try to get it to you out and going somewhere between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays, because I'm having to kind of chop it all together and put all the guys together and we'll have Justin on, we'll have Tony on, we're going to have Joey on, and then, of course, I'll be here. So that's what we're having to do. As opposed to bringing a bunch of choppy junk, we're going to put it all together and give you one big show on Fridays. And then, of course, this Saturday, that's our last Dixie Football Nation for a while. We will see what the guys can do as far as maybe championship day when the semifinals come at us. But other than that, it has been another fun season, and then we'll continue to bring you the handicappers on Sunday mornings, and we'll do that until the end of the fantasy football season, which is week 17 this year, not week 16. So we still have a few weeks to go on that, and then we're just going to kind of reboot and figure out what we're going to do long term. So everybody's schedules, Justin's schedule, my schedule, everybody's schedule has changed, and so that's what we're going with. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the free agent signings, Major League Baseball, going off of some things that, a couple of them were interesting. Won't necessarily say that they were of great consequence, but I will say that if you don't have a major free agent in your pocket right now, the pickings are getting really slim. And Atlanta Braves still have not signed Freddie Freeman, as I'm coming to you right now. I expect the Braves to do something to try to make something happen by evening's end. And if they do not, it's not really ideal. What the rumor is now, Freddie wants 6 years, $180 million. The Braves are wanting to go 5 years. If this is really what's holding it up, this is the stupidest damn thing I've ever heard. Unbelievable hard-headedness from the brass. I doubt that it's an AA decision. I think Anthopoulos would sign him and get him in there. This has to be from the upper brass that makes the decisions on the money. But when you really break this down, you're talking about one extra year for $30 million, a guy that is a relentless professional and will not just kind of fade off into the dust. And you've got a DH that's coming to the National League. It's either going to happen this year or in the very, very near future. There's no way you get to the end of this 5-year deal and there's not a DH in the National League. Hell, even if there isn't, whoopity-doo. He plays first base. You're not asking him to go out there and play middle linebacker at 38 years old, 37 years old, 38 if he goes to year 6. You're asking him to play first base. It can be done. It's been done for years. And Freddie Freeman gave the Atlanta Braves a really good break when he signed his original deal. If people remember that was a very club-friendly deal. A very club-friendly deal. And I think you owe it to the man to give him an extra bump in return. And shame on the Braves if they don't sign him. That's what I'm going at. If they don't get him, I would expect Rizzo to be the guy that's on the radar. But the Yankees and the Dodgers are now interested, and you let the two big boys come to the table when you should have had this locked up a year ago. It's wrong, and it's an incompetent job by the Braves upper management. Whoever's making this final decision, it is absolutely wrong. You're getting too cute. You went out and won a World Series this year, and you think you can always just tape it together with the Jorge Solers and Eddie Rosarios of the world. You got to have your Freddie Freeman in the middle of that lineup. You lose Freddie Freeman and you're bringing back Ozuna, it's not going to go well in the fan base, and it's not going to do great things in the clubhouse, to be perfectly honest with you. So we'll see what happens there. If Freddie Freeman comes back, the Braves will be my preseason pick to win the whole thing again. If Freddie Freeman doesn't come back, depending on what they do, I may not even have them making the playoffs, because it will be a devastating blow to that locker room. And I think every guy that re-signed, the Charlie Mortons, the Travis d'Arnaud's, everyone that they re-signed, everyone that they extended, they were all under the impression Freddie Freeman was coming back. The Boston Red Sox signed John Paxson to a 1-year, $10 million deal. Look, you're getting a guy who's been around the block several years. He's a lefty that when he's pitching well, he's one of the better lefties in baseball, but that hasn't happened much recently. And so to be honest with you, this is a bit of a stretch. They went out and signed Waka the other day. They're patching together another rotation. They are expecting big things out of Chris Sale next year. They'll have Eovaldi. But I really am surprised that the Red Sox didn't go hard after someone like a Robbie Ray who signed 5-year, $110 deal. Look, I guarantee it, when it's all said and done and the dust settles, people are going to realize that 5-year, $110 deal for Robbie Ray is an absolute steal for the Seattle Mariners. There's no other way to put it. He's going to average, $22 million a year in the prime of his career, a strikeout artist, a guy who's only getting better, just won the Cy Young, and you just gave a 37-year-old dead arm, one eye, Max Scherzer, $43 million a year? The Mets are going to pay more for 3 years than the Mariners will pay for 5 years by $20 million. It's basically 2.5 years Scherzer's contract. I don't know if they get the same return that they think they're going to get. This was a few years ago. I'd have no issue with it. But Father Time is undefeated. And we all saw what happened to Verlander. Eventually, arms break down. Alex Cobb signed with the Giants. 2-year, $20 million deal. I think they're going to try to find lightning in a bottle. I think they're kind of looking for like another Alex Wood type deal where they can take what they see on tape, and Alex Cobb does have some talent, and they feel like they can kind of revive his career. And if they can do that, then it's a very, very suave. I'm very, very surprised that Chris Bryant hasn't been signed. I expect him to be signed by the Giants. But if not, remember, he played center field. He can play first, he can play third, but he played center field. That opens up his market immensely when we talk about teams that have needs. So there you have that. That is essentially what's going on in Major League Baseball and the signings, the ones of note. One more quick hitter. The Braves did tender the contract of Adam Duvall. It's about damn time. It is about damn time. Last year, they should have held on to Duvall, but they decided to keep him. They got rid of Camargo. Hallelujah. Rich Rodriguez is gone. I don't have as much disdain for him. I would have liked to seen them keep him and see if they can fix him. But look, he was due $3 million this year, and maybe they're sitting there thinking, we got to clear that room for Freddie and whoever else. And so they save money there. Camargo's just a bust. And it's so funny that 2 years ago, people were trying to convince you that Camargo should be starting over Austin Riley, who was my 2021 National League MVP. Don't sell me on that Bryce Harper junk. It was Austin Riley. And so they get rid of those two guys. They did hold on to Orlando Arcia. I'm not a big fan of his because I haven't seen him do anything. See him going up there, he's swinging for the downs. And okay, but he'll be an okay bench piece, right? He'll be an okay piece. You come off the bench and you just hope to get some a little platoon action to give guys days off, and then also he can be a pinch hitter. Guillermo Heredia will be coming back, and everyone loves him. He's a great clubhouse guy. Not much with the stick, decent with the glove, and so we bring him back. So we're excited about that, and that'll pretty much do it for the National or the Major League Baseball. We'll get into the National Football League here in 1 second, but Riley going to USC, and now Brian Kelly, which, by the way, some of the emails and things that have been leaked about Brian Kelly, seems like he's not a very good guy. Seems like he's quite the piece of work. So good luck with that, LSU fans. I don't know if you got someone that you think you got. I think you might have gotten a guy that, honestly, may not be the best person. And I'm not talking about the best person for the job. I'm talking about he just seems like kind of a slime ball. He comes off as a real Urban Meyer type. But if you get those two guys, they leave Oklahoma to go to Southern Cal and Notre Dame to go to LSU. Depending on what those two teams do, that could change the landscape of college football quite a bit. You get someone in there for Oklahoma that, you get a head coach in there that replaces Lincoln Riley and they don't live up to the standards, Oklahoma could fall off quick because they're headed to the SEC. Now, they're not going to stay down forever. They're Oklahoma. Oklahoma's always been a proud football tradition school. But they don't have the cachet that an Alabama has, per se. So, though it's a job that you want, it's not necessarily one that everyone's running to, especially now that they're going to head to the SEC, and them in Texas, I think, are going to get buried in the immediate part of the SEC join. I think eventually they'll figure it out and they'll become SEC powers, but I think in the immediate part, I think they're two schools that will absolutely get buried. But you get all this stuff going on, and first of all, the SEC is going to be a lot of fun. If we get the addition of Oklahoma and Texas, I'm hoping we get it by next year, but it's probably not logical. It's probably more likely for it to happen over the next couple of years. But you start getting some of these coaches in there going up against each other, that could be a lot of fun. Now, USC becoming a power again in college football, that's fun for college football. It is. And we'll just see what happens with Notre Dame. I think they'll probably go after Luke Fickell, but I would be open to see them thinking outside the bun if they want to go after some of the guys that are in the NFL right now. That could be an attractive lure. But I don't think Notre Dame can sit up there on their high horse and tell us all about how they have a certain set of standards and they expect nothing but the best from their athletes, and then go hire someone like an Urban Meyer. Go hire someone like a Pete Carroll. So it's a slippery slope, and we move on to the NFL. Now the NFL, everyone's freaking out about Lamar Jackson's 4-interception game. Look, he is what he is. He's a very good athlete. It's going to throw interceptions because he's incredibly inaccurate. Daniel Jones is banged up. He's preparing like he's going to play against the Dolphins, but we'll see. Prediction, Daniel Jones is out in New York by next year, and Russell Wilson comes a-calling. And I think it's too late. I think Russell Wilson's seen his better days. He's 33. He'll be 34 next year, but the Giants will try to rejuvenate. They're tired of the rebuild in New York. They are so sick and tired of not being relevant for the last 4 to 5 years. They want to be relevant again. Not necessarily a new Super Bowl contender. They just want to make a playoff run. Looks like Jalen Hurts is ready to go, even though he got the ankle sprain the other day. And Amari Cooper expects to play against Dallas. Amari Cooper of Dallas expects to play against New Orleans. That game is Thursday night. And that's about it right now. It does look like the Lions, Swift is going to miss a couple of weeks. So fantasy football folks, if you weren't on it, you should have been. Jamal Williams was the pickup of the week this week. You had some Chuba Hubbard out there that you want, some Alexander Madison. The thing about Madison is they always overhype what he's going to do. They always, they'll always predict that he's going to do like 18, 19 points or whatever in your league. And then you wake up Monday morning, you look at his stat line, and he's barely creeped across 11. If I had to pick between all of them, it's Jamal Williams this week. All right, on this date in 1984, as we go to walk on out of here, Doug Flutie won the Heisman Trophy. It's hard to believe that's been 37 years ago. Doug Flutie, as good of a season as he had, for folks who do not remember this or were not old enough to actually see this, witness this, Doug Flutie won the national championship on the Miami game alone. It was the day after Thanksgiving. It was a national audience. It was already hyped because of the guys that were in the game. You had Testaverde versus Flutie. Or was it Kozar? I can't remember at this point. But regardless, it was being hyped. Flutie puts on a performance of a lifetime and goes out, and it was Bernie Kosar. Okay. 45-41 was the final, but the famous Hail Mary is the one. Well, actually, 45-41 was the score when the famous Hail Mary took place, and Boston College wins at 47-45. Everyone will always remember. If you were alive then, you will always remember where you were when that happened. It's one of those things that's burned in my brain. I was sitting on my grandfather's floor in his living room, and we could not, because we were both pulling for Doug Flutie, we could not believe what we saw. It was unreal. One of the greatest college football games of all time. If it ever comes on replay, ESPN Classic, whatever the hell, go on YouTube, whatever. I highly recommend watching that game. It was phenomenal. But that's the game that won it. That is absolutely the game that won it. He went on to play in the Canadian Football League and then came to the NFL. Remember, he started in the USFL with the Generals. I actually watched Doug Flutie and the Generals come to Jacksonville. I was in the stadium with Herschel Walker and played the Jacksonville Bulls. A childhood memory I will always remember. He came back to the NFL, and that was after he left the USFL, went to the Bears, played for a couple of years, was decent, just no one ever really gave him a chance. In today's football, he would have been phenomenal. Left to go to the Canadian Football League, and then he came back and played for the Bills in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then finished up his career with the Chargers and I believe the Patriots is where he ended up at the end. And that was basically one of those deals where they were signing him on to, it was a feel-good story. Doug Flutie coming to Boston, play for the Patriots. But by then, it was in the middle of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady era. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Have a great day, and we will see you next time here on the Sports Page.
Take me out to the ball game.